how I build AAA mechanics and systems as an indie for my client's games. I will discuss it and break it down based on my client's project, which is Shrouded Frontier. You will find the link for it in the description. This project has been in development for 8 months, and in that time we've managed to build grapple hook, wall climbing, ladder climbing, pipe climbing, sliding, mantling, and different parkour actions, mantling, climbing, the vaulting as well, drop downs, some interactions like here. Then we have zip line, we have full third person combat, which has about 5 different guns, melee, but it is unfinished. We are still working on animations for them, AAA animations of course. Then AI system, gadgets, which is flamethrower, shield, grapple hook goes as well in gadgets, and so on, and also the interaction systems, 12 of them, all modular and all chaining together seamlessly. Before I open the project and get you in, I want to discuss this detail about what most developers get wrong, and here is how most of them build a project like this. They start with one player character class, right? And they add movement into it, they add combat, they add traversal, inventory, and so on, equipment, camera logic, whatever. All of them into one class, which is a big problem. This contradicts the idea of, first of all, solid, the design pattern, as well as build systems like APIs, all inside one class, and that's a problem. It works, but it works for a while until we hit a wall. By month 3, for example, the class has 1,000 nodes, nobody can read it, nobody can debug it, because everything is chained together, and if you even want to change something, even in the variables tab, you have 10 million variables. Some of the systems like equipment doesn't need to know anything about traversal. Why would you have same variables in the same class? That's a problem, but that is what most beginners or even mid people face as well, middle developers. Every time you add something new, there are 3 other things that break because everything is connected to everything, like houses built on cracked foundation. I've seen this happen with a project that would cost studios $50,000 to $25,000 because I do consulting with small to middle-sized studios and also developers who build their own games on the side of actual service to build successful game demos for them. And the other day I had consulting where the studio outsourced to other studio and they built everything on like $30 marketplace template. Then things were broken, game was bugged, it was junk garbage, and what the studio said, you want to know? They said that they cannot fix it. That's irresponsibility, and they kind of scammed the person as well. Yes, whenever you work on some kind of project, if you're a developer and you want to work with somebody, make sure that somebody that you work with has clear understanding of strategy, can outline the whole project before even starting, and then you have clear roadmap that you follow with clean software architecture designed over years. That's exactly what I did. So let's play this a little bit, and we have quite a lot of things here going on. Unfortunately, it's still not on a highly polished level simply because we're still working on AAA animation. As we all know, games are very visual first, which means that you can have amazing code, but people see visuals first. That because of that, it has to be visually perfect, and unfortunately, we're still working on animations. Some of them look terrible, like even if I equip, it doesn't look that nice. As you can see, there are some snaps, this and that, but that's all fixable. That's all work in progress. We're gonna focus on software and clean architecture behind the project itself that makes it scale. This project got a lot of traction because I showcased this clip where I was using the grapple hook. It was a lot of attempts to get this clean. So grapple hook is one of the gadgets in this game, and we have a lot of different gadgets. This allows us to have vertical movement in the game. This game is meant to have vertical movement, which means the cities and the level design will be vertical so that it supports a lot of climbing. As you can see, we have even ladder climbing, the pipe climbing, the wall climbing as well. And yeah, that is based on the game's philosophy. Also, we broke down the ladder system, which runs fully on IKs, because if we go into the ladder climbing and I disable the IKs themselves, let me just override them. As you can see, it's completely messed up. Hands are misaligned, legs are misaligned, everything looks terrible. So if I reconnect now and go back, we can understand how it works. So basically there are constant traces and the hands switch which IK to target based on the action itself. In action, we have notifies that tell it, hey, it's time to switch the hands and the legs. Then we have slide down if we hold the shift, and we have go faster, but animations are still work in progress for that. Now for the climbing, it's nothing special. It's pretty much inspired by Uncharted, and we are remaking the climb to be more of like Assassin's Creed or the Splinter Cell as well, which is like more connected climbing methods. Slide animations come from Gus project, obviously, because they are the best ones at the moment, but the logic is completely from scratch. The reason behind this is that if I borrow something from one asset, say Gasp, another one from some kind of a template, then the decisions themselves, the philosophy of the project collapses. Some kind of template was built for completely different purpose, which breaks it. This project, which I built from scratch, was built on the foundation and the design principles that I figured out over the years, and I tested them. It's like when you backtest something and you figure out that this is the best and the strongest foundation for it. That's what happens. And I have my own decisions, my own namings, my own conventions, my own SOPs for my game dev. And if I bring some kind of assets which has completely different everything, then everything just collapses, interferes, fights with one another, and the whole project will collapse and fail in a day or so. If you're building a long-term project which has to be clean, which has to be expandable, scalable, and look exceptional, satisfying and impressive, then you have to focus on Scratch, because that's the only method and only guarantee that you will fulfill successfully. Even though animations are from there, because the budget right now does not allow for mocap, we have to use whatever we have. And in this case, when I sliding system is its own logic built-in traversal manager component. And whenever I slide, I can use guns, I can shoot, I can cancel the slide as well, depending on the state. For the zipline is pretty much inspired by the Arc Riders, and it's pretty simple right now. I'm adding the feature to use the items on the zipline as well, and which will come pretty soon. For some of the eye-catching mechanics, we have jump down the hole, and this is pretty much animation driven, but the point is this comes from the Ramstress animation pack, which is, I think, some from here. But the problem is that animation looked a bit junky, and as well as it did not have correct landing, which made us get our custom animator remake this animation plus add ending, which is these kind of ending that you see. He falls on his own hands. That makes it look more impactful, and the transition then is cleaner. Important part is to have also the spacing for blending, which means that I should be able to have some space, some timing to have clean blending of the animation. Some of the packs have very short time after action ends, which makes it very ugly, and it forces the transition early. The architecture philosophy. The point is, I do not build features, I build the systems, and there is a specific difference. A feature is something that works today. For example, you just want to build something very low ticket project and it just has to work, like a university project. A system is something that still works from 6 months from now when the project is 10x more complex. Most developers think about, how do I make this one thing work? This is the exact problem. I think about, how do I make this one thing work, look exceptionally, and ensure that the next 20 things that I add don't break it or anything else in this project. That's the architecture thinking that gets us to the goal. Every system in this project is completely isolated in its own responsibility. The traversal system knows nothing about the combat system because it doesn't have to know. The combat system does not know anything about inventory. The gadget system knows nothing about the traversal. If they were connected, it would make everything so much harder, which is unnecessary, and it breaks the project. But they all connect through a shared layer that handles the communication between them. Whenever I press some kind of button, it needs to know that I'm trying to attack, not trying to slide. Right? So this one system controls wall communication, but then after the call, whenever I say, hey, I press this, do whatever you're supposed to do, if I'm equipping like a gun and I press the button, it tells whatever item I have equipped. It doesn't know even if it's a gun. It knows that it's some kind of item I have equipped, and it tells this item, hey, I just pressed right mouse button, this one. So it tells the communicator system that this button has been pressed, then it communicates with the item that is currently equipped. I don't know what that kind of item is. This item itself knows what kind of item it is because it has its own logic inside. And if it is a firearm, then it's going to call, hey, I am shooting. If it's melee, it's going to say, hi, I am attacking, executing, whatever. If it's a flamethrower gadget, then it's going to say that, hey, I'm shooting flames. Let's go down into why marketplace assets can't work, because as I already explained, many people just think that why not just buy a traversal pack from marketplace because it's full of them. And some people even say that when I've published the Outlaws Vengeance parkour, they said, is this from marketplace? Come on, man. Because when you buy an asset, you are building someone else's architecture, someone else's decisions, someone else's coding style, someone else's mistakes as well. That developer had a completely different vision, a completely different understanding on how systems should communicate. You plug their traversal into your project, and now two architectures are fighting with one another. You touch one variable and 10 things break. Every fix creates a new problem. Every new problem costs more hours. Every hour costs more money. I'm talking obviously not about passion projects, but I'm talking about high ticket projects that have to go to the investor, have to go and sell, etc. Have to be successful. And this is the compound effect nobody sees until it's too late. I've rebuilt entire systems for studios who started with the marketplace assets and ended up spending more money fixing them than it would have cost them to simply build from scratch from start. My top tier demos work because every piece was built under one architecture, one philosophy and one standard that I've built over the years of experimenting and backtesting. And what AAA actually means is that it's not a big budget like 100 million budget with 100 team members. AAA means production level engineering. It means systems that don't break when you scale them, and the systems that look so impressive they stop scroll. And that's what separates a demo that works in a controlled showcase from a production system that works no matter what the player will do. And a lot of this comes from actually testing and implementing the fixes and iterating on it. A demo handles 5 scenarios. A production system will handle 500 on them, and the only way to get from 5 to 500 is to design the architecture for it before you write a single line of code. That's what AAA means. Not a budget, but the architecture that you design, the strategy of how you're going to develop the workflow. And the strategy nobody talks about is that before I write a single line of code, the entire project is planned. Every system, every communication path, every responsibility, which systems have to exist, what kind of components will I even use, I know before starting a project. Based on the milestones we outlined, I know what I'm going to build and how I'm going to build, and that's why I'm sure that this going to be guaranteed stand 5 months in the project and look amazing. That's the biggest thing, because it's visual and people buy because of emotions, and whenever people want to play games, they play because of this emotional elation, I guess. They're elated and happy. They see these visuals that are captivating and attention capturing, obviously. The planning phase is the most important for the project, because there is a saying, if you do not plan or if you do not prepare, you're preparing to fail. And I established this after over 140 projects. The strategy, the roadmap, the planning methodology, that did not come from a course. It never comes. It came from building mechanics, watching them break, understanding why they broke, and designing systems that prevent those failures from ever happening again. And what this means for your project: if you're a studio or a funded team and your project's architecture feels fragile, systems breaking, features colliding, technical debt piling up, or you want to create your game demo to look flawless and blow competitors out of the water, like one of my clients said, here he says, blows most of competition out of the water. This project gonna be soon released, and you're gonna see how exceptional it looks and how great it works. Then you know where to find me. Let's get your project stand out of the market and succeed.